everyone, my name is Chloe, and today I'm here to talk about all the books I read in the second half of April. So, you guys, this is kind of an unbelievable stack. I read so much in the second half of April, and I'm just like on a tear where I'm really motivated to read. Some things have happened where I've had more opportunities to read, and it's just been a great second half of the month. So as always, I'm going to get into the stats, and then we'll just go in the order that I read these books. I will do middle grade, and then I read one YA, and then adult books. So I will try to put timestamps down below, so if you're only interested in a certain age range, you can just listen to that. So grab a coffee, grab a tea, whatever you drink. Let's talk about stuff. So in the second half of April, I read 30 books and DNF 2. Now, you're probably like, what? How is that possible? 2 books a day? What? However, a lot of these were graphic novels. So you will see I read 7,453 pages, which is 497 pages per day. Like, I don't even know. This is crazy. But 248 pages was the average length of the book. So there's one tip off to how that was happening. And so I read 2 books a day. But let's get into the formats of these books. So I had 12 novels, 11 graphic novels, 5 chapter books, and 1 book, and actually 2 books in verse. And so I am having to pre-read a lot for my daughter right now because she is just a reading machine. She reads 1 or 2 books a day. And so I'm really trying to pre-read some stuff for her. And yeah, that has, like, I've been trying to do that simultaneously while keeping up with all my reading. So yes, I read 14 adult, 1 young adult, and 15 middle grade. So the majority was middle grade this month. 12 were from my shelf and 18 were from somewhere else. And you guys, I'm not kidding. I start prepping these like before the end of the month. Like I start just glancing at the stats, and it was like just a couple off my shelf, and then I decided some of these books I like so much I decided to buy, and they arrived before this. And so then I was like, oh great, I can shift my stats. So now actually 12 are on my shelf and 18 were from somewhere else. Did I read them that way? No, but that's okay. What matters is they're on my shelf now. I loved them enough to buy them, so there we go. I read 17 from the library, 5 from Libby, 5 from NetGalley, 1 on my shelf, 1 from Libro FM, and 1 from Kindle. 18 were paperbacks, or were physical, I guess, not necessarily paperback. 18 were physical, 11 were audio, and 1 was ebook. I read 8 new releases and 22 backlist. New release to me is anything in 2024. Backlist is anything else. As far as genre goes, I had 10 contemporary, 7 nonfiction, 5 mystery thriller, 2 historical, 2 magical realism, 2 sci-fi fantasy, 1 women's fiction, and 1 romance. So, shockingly, women's fiction and romance were the lowest, but all over the board as usual. So as far as star ratings go, I had 2 DNFs, 3 2 stars, 4 3 stars, 4 3.5, 14 4 stars. So you guys, when I say it was awesome, it was awesome. 1 4.5 star and 3 5 stars. Now, before anybody gets too excited, the 5 stars I think were all middle grade, because for adult books, 5 stars are like all-time favorites, and I almost got there this month, but not quite. So the average was 3.71, which is definitely above where my average normally is. So it was a great month. So let's just get into it. My middle grade stack, like these graphic novels are hefty. And so this is going to be a heavy load. Hold on. Okay, let's just get into it. So the first one is Squished. This is by Wagner, Lloyd, I believe. Her name is covered by the sticker. But this is about a little girl who she is the second, I believe, in a family of 7 kids. And so it's her finding her place and her also navigating like her need. She's about to be a teenager. So she's like needing privacy, needing her own things, but also like wanting to be a part of her family and help out. And she's kind of resentful at first. And then one of her siblings goes missing. And so it's a great like character growth, but also her parents have a lot of character growth, because I know like I only have 3 kids, but my oldest obviously gets kind of saddled with the most responsibility, but also remembering that they have the right to be a kid too. So I really, really like this book. Next is also by her, Allergic. This is a book about a little girl who, it's almost her birthday, and what she has wanted forever is a dog. And so her family's finally like, all right, let's go to the rescue. We'll get a dog. Well, she gets there and she's very, very allergic. And come to find out, she's allergic to anything with feather and furs, which basically means pets are kind of off the table. She tries some non-feathered, non-furry pets, but it just doesn't work out. And everybody, like her class, can not have a class pet because of it. Her family is a little, like her siblings are a little upset that they can't have an animal, and she's really hard on herself and really wants an animal. Her best friend next door gets a dog, and she's kind of heard about that. Like all of that is explored. And I love this too. As somebody who has different food allergies and things, like the feeling different, feeling like an obligation because of your allergies and things is something I could definitely relate to. And yeah, I really enjoyed this book. Next is number 2 in a series. It's Doodleville Art Attacks by Chad Sell. I didn't really like the first one, but I wanted to see where it goes, and I really dislike this one. This one is about a girl who doodles, and her doodles come to life, and they kind of like attack this art museum, and this one things just get really haywire. It's chaotic. I didn't like it at all. Next is another one that I didn't like. This is Phoebe and Her Unicorn. This is the first in the series. Again, something I was reading potentially for my daughter, but this girl is really bratty. Her unicorn's really bratty. I don't remember a whole lot of the plot, but I just remember this was not something that I'm interested in reading or having my daughter read. However, the next series is a series that we're both loving, and it's the Click series by Kayla Miller. So this one is about this girl named Olive, who there's like a school talent show coming up, and she's kind of friends with everybody. She doesn't really fall in one particular group. She's just friends with everybody. And so then when the talent show comes up, everybody starts like partnering up, pairing up, doing whatever. And she's like, I don't really have a place to be. Well, her aunt is like, how about you host the show? And she's like, gosh, I would love that. And so she kind of finds her place, and like at first she's feeling really rejected, and then she kind of realizes she's just got special gifts also, and like, yeah, it's really great. And then we continue the series. Camp, they go to summer camp, and one of her best friends is kind of shy, reserved, really wants to cling to Olive, whereas Olive's really outgoing and wants to make new friends. And so we're exploring that dynamic, friendship in elementary, early middle school, all of that. It's really great. Next is Act. This is number 3 in the series. I think she's in 6th grade, and it's the 6th grade, like student council elections or whatever. And she decides to vote because they are going on a field trip, and she has a friend who can't go because she can't afford it. And so her whole like platform is that she wants to have school fundraisers for those kids who cannot afford field trips. And so great platform. I love this, just like conversation around student government and how you can make a change. She's running against some of her best friends, and who have like more pudding at lunch as their platform. And so just that kind of conversation around working together, and then also how like elections and things work, but also how they can like drive a wedge between people, and overcoming that. Super good. Then the last one I read was Clash. And this is about a new girl, Natalie. She comes into town, and Olive is asked to like show her around. And Natalie's like, you're friends with everybody. Like everybody likes you, all that kind of stuff. Well, Natalie feels really jealous about that and starts being really mean to Olive only. And so Olive just kills her with kindness over and over and over. And I admired Olive, because by golly, I would not have been able to like maintain her poise throughout all of this. But then my complaint, this one is actually one of my least favorite, because I don't feel like there's enough character growth in Natalie. She does kind of come around, but not enough. But I think there's 2 more books currently out in that series, and I really like it, so we will continue. Next is Invisible by Christina Diaz Gonzalez. And I think I saw this on Becca Books and Bujo. I think it was her that was talking about this. This one was fine. This is about a group of kids, for all different reasons. They have to work before school in the cafeteria to help clean and stuff. And a lot of their duties are like taking trash out. And they see this family, mother and daughter, who have to live in their car, and they're otherwise invisible. And so they try to help them. And I really like that. There's also, most of this book is told in both English and Spanish. So I like that, inclusion and all that kind of stuff. This one just didn't have like the characters that grip me or the riveting plot. So it was fine. But yeah. Then I think that's the end of the middle grade graphic novel. So then we read The Bridge Home. This is by Padma Venkatraman, maybe. This is a heavy book about 4 kids, 2 girls who run away from home because their dad's abusive. and their mom can't really protect them, and so they run away from home. The Ruku is the little sister, and she has some sort of learning disability. She's not extremely verbal. I don't know if she's somewhere on the autism spectrum. It never says. She just has some sort of disability that we don't really know. And then Vashti, I think, is the big sister. So they go try to make their way. They find this bridge and find two brothers who are also living on the bridge. And together they all just try to survive. And this book definitely, like, it made my daughter and I cry. It definitely had heavy moments. On reflection, I think their ages are a little too young for this just because of the heavy content, but it has a great author's note really bringing to light the homeless children population in India and what a problem it is, and just how hard it is for them. And yeah, this was really good, but really heavy. And then I read, I read one more graphic novel that I missed out on. This is The Tryout by Christina Soontornvant. She wrote the All 13 or whatever about the soccer team, I think, that got stuck in a cave. True story. She writes a lot of things, but this is her graphic memoir about trying out in 7th grade for the cheerleading squad. And she is her dad Thai, maybe? I think her dad is Thai. Correct me if I'm wrong now that I'm saying that. I don't know. I think her dad is Thai, and her mom is white. And then her best friend is, I believe, Iranian. She's from Iranian descent. And so the two of them are kind of ostracized in school for being foreigners. Like, they are bullied a lot. And that was really hard to read about. And so she decides she wants to try out for the cheerleading squad, which is great. And she is really good at it. Her best friend's like an extreme gymnast. So they both have a lot of talent in this cheerleading realm. And so the first round is judged by coaches and that kind of stuff. So they pass the first round. And then the second round, everybody does their routine in front of the school, and the school votes. So I'm not going to tell you what happens, but the author's note, again, was so great in this because she was talking about how things have changed, and yet how some things have stayed the same, and just how much these kids face as far as racism in school and how hard it is. I mean, honestly, like, kids are so mean, and this, like, if we can put this in kids' hands and they can realize that it's not okay, I'm all for it. So I think there's actually a sequel to this coming out here this summer, maybe. So I'm really excited and would definitely read it. Next, we have Who Was Lucille Ball by Pam Pollack and Meg Belviso. So this is a part of the Who Was series. We have a lot of these books on our shelves, and my daughter decided to pick this up, and this has illustrations and things throughout, but it's all about Lucille Ball, and it's just so fun. She wanted to read this, and so she did, and then we watched an episode of I Love Lucy, and she did a little book report about it, about Lucille Ball. And honestly, I learned a lot about her life from this book, and yeah, it was really fun to kind of do that all in one activity with her. Then we have another series that I've since bought, but this is Lucy's Lab. So in science, we've been talking about solids, liquids, and gases at school, or in school with my kids. And this is a novel about solids, liquids, and gases. So Lucy loves science, and they're learning about these things. We actually took some of the activities from this and did them, and there's also like worksheets that they did that we were able to like copy and do, and my kids loved doing what Lucy was doing, so we did a lot of extra science with this, but then somebody gets sick from eating a lot of apples, and there's talks of fiber and excess fiber and that kind of stuff. So this was really fun and like a really good learning experience. I think there's 3 of them, so I bought them all, so there we go. We're almost done with middle grade. We got 2 more, and it's 2 in the Haunted Library series. These are books that we have been reading for a long time. We've got the Hide and Seek Ghost and the Movie Theater Ghost. So basically the premise of this series is that there is this ghost family who, where they live gets blown down, and ghosts cannot be outside because they'll get blown away in the wind. So this family all gets separated, and the little boy Kaz gets blown into the library. And Claire is a little girl who lives in the library. She's a solid girl, so a human girl, not ghost, and she can see ghosts. And so her and Kaz become friends, and they try to find the rest of his family. So this is a 10-book series. These are books 8 and 9, and it's just really fun. We really like it, and yeah, definitely recommend. So then I read one young adult graphic novel, and this was Hoops by Matt Tavares. And this is the true-ish story of the, 1970 something. Let's see. I will definitely say this wrong if I don't look it up. Let's see. 1976 Warsaw High School War High School girls basketball team, and Judy Warren. There's a girl named Judy. She loves basketball. She's really good at it. And this is the first year that her school has offered girls basketball. So they have to use duct tape for their numbers, all that kind of stuff. They really have to fight for any sort of funding. And it's the formation of the first girls team. And in the back, there's talk of Title IX and all of that kind of stuff, and just how hard girls had to fight to get the right to play sports. And my daughter is huge into sports. Both of my bigger two are very into sports. And so it was really fun to read this and have conversation. My oldest daughter read it on her own. I read it, and yeah, it was really good. So now let's get into the adult books. So I have some of them here physically, but not all of them. So I'm going to pull up my list and make sure I don't skip any. But first, we have Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby. This is one of my DNFs because I just couldn't handle the gore. This premise is something that is really intriguing to me, and I really enjoyed. This is about two fathers who their sons were both they were together, and they were both killed. And now these dads are kind of seeking vengeance and answers to what happened to their sons. And the way they are doing so is not very peaceful. It's very violent. And I just couldn't get past the violence. I don't have a high tolerance for it. And so the mama bear instinct in me really came out in wanting to find out what happened to your kids. And I could totally understand wanting to do some of the things that these guys did if you hurt my kid. But I couldn't read about it. And so, DNF'd that one. Then we have The Anniversary by Cole Baxter. And I gave this one 2 stars. This is about a couple who they are going to dinner or whatever on their anniversary. And the husband is very controlling, and he almost gave bipolar vibes. Again, no diagnoses were talked about, so I don't know, but definitely gave some bipolar vibes because they are at this 10-year anniversary, and he's spending extravagantly, give me the most expensive thing on the menu kind of ordering and things. So his wife's like, what's up? And so they leave. She's got some sort of medication that she's on that makes it so she can't drink. So he drinks an entire bottle of wine, all that. He's driving really recklessly home, and she's like, stop. They get in a wreck. She wakes up not exactly sure what happened, but her husband has framed her, and he put her body in the driver's seat and said she did it. And he turned the whole story to be to put her at blame, and makes this whole story about how she is all these things. And so you kind of have an unreliable situation. You're hearing from the wife's perspective, and she is telling her side of what happened. And honestly, it was a lot of back and forth, and there was no real twist in the end, and it just wasn't very good. Then we have The Stranger by Kirsten Moglen, and this one I gave 3.5 stars. I love Kirsten Moglen for short, easy thrillers, and this was definitely one of those. So this book is about a couple of people that meet because there's a bad snowstorm. I can't remember if she's walking or something, but he offers to help her. I think their names are Walker and Tibby or something. He offers to help her, and she begrudgingly kind of accepts and goes with him, and they go and stay in this hotel to kind of wait out the storm. And then things happen, lots of things. They try to leave, their tires are slashed, and they get a ride with other strangers. So it's all who can you trust, who can you not? It was fine. It was really short and a lot of unbelievability, but it was fun for the ride. Then we have The Wedding Hitch by Claire McCauley. So this is her debut. I was talking about it in my anticipated reads, and she reached out to me and sent me an ebook, and I am so grateful because this was such a fun book. So this is about this gal who has these dreams of getting married at this big kind of Regency castle area kind of thing is how I envisioned it. And her fiance, so they go, and she enters a contest to win a free wedding there. Well, she wins the wedding, and her fiance's like, I'm actually not really sure I want to get married. And so she's like, well, I do. I want marriage, kids, that whole thing. If you don't, I'm out. And so They break up, and she gets a job at this palace thing. And so she's trying to figure out she's got 1 year to use the wedding. So she has 1 year to find a groom and do all the things to get her dream wedding. And this book, this is a contemporary book with the Regency vibes and tropes. So if you're like me and you've always wanted to like Regency romance, historicals like that, and you just don't, I feel like this will scratch the itch, because she meets a guy, he's the kind of like head manager of the estate, and he's a very much a Regency hero, and it's her figuring stuff out. And now she's got her fiance, who of course like has more appearances throughout the book. She's also got other romances going on. And like sometimes when that happens, it's too love triangle-y, and this one does not go there, and I appreciated it so much. I also loved the ending of this book because it just isn't your typical story. Like me telling you the synopsis, you cannot write the entire plot right now because a lot happens that you wouldn't necessarily expect. And so I really liked this book and gave it 4 stars. Next is, The Princess of Las Vegas by Chris Bohalian. So I hauled this just recently, and I really hyped up Chris Bohalian, or Bojalian, I think. I listened to how he says his name, and you do say the J, I think. But I really hyped him up, and this one I feel like was like karma telling me don't overhype things because then you'll be let down. So this is about a Princess Diana impersonator who works in Las Vegas. And this book just, I had said when I hauled it that trope-wise, this is a lot of things that are very anti-buzzword for me. But he's written some other stuff that is kind of anti-buzzword that I still really liked. Well, this one I didn't really love. I am going to give it probably 3 stars. So it's about this impersonator, and her bosses end up dead, and so there's a whole bunch going on. There's a lot of cryptocurrency talk and kind of sketchy dealings with cryptocurrency, a lot of just the seedy underground kind of sketchy stuff that's going on. And her sister comes and is involved, and there's some family dynamics. I really like the family dynamics, but I didn't love the cryptocurrency and all that kind of stuff. So this one was just okay for me. And it also can get a little violent. This is not one of the worst on the violence, but it can be kind of a lot. Next is What Kind of Woman by Kate Baer. So I read Kate Baer's most recent poetry collection called And Yet. I read that a while ago on Libro FM, and somebody was talking about her again, and I was like, you know what? I want to read the rest of her stuff. So she just writes poetry about being a woman, being a mother, all the things. And I have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 poems in here that I tabbed, and I was sending screenshots to one of my best friends because they're just so good. They're so good. So good about body image, about our role as females in this country, as wives, as mothers. So good. Love these books. So I have bought all of these books now. Yikes. So I also read I Hope This Finds You Well. This is by Kate Baer. Now, Kate Baer, I think she started as a blogger, and so this is her response to a bunch of both positive and negative comments and things on her blog. And this one felt like this one I didn't love. I bought it before I read it. I didn't tab anything in this. And her responses are very short. So here's the comment, here's her response. And they're very, very short, and sometimes just restate what the person said. And I really didn't get that much out of this, but she is very liberal and stands behind her very liberal beliefs. And so this one was not my favorite, but it was okay. Next is All You Need Is Rhythm and Grit by Corey Walton Malcolm. Now, I think Corey Walton Malcolm, if you guys are some of my UK viewers, let me know. I think he's some sort of fitness, Apple Plus or something. I don't know. Maybe it's not a UK thing. I think he's British, but maybe, I don't know. I have no idea who this guy is. However, he was very overweight and started using running as a way of weight management, but he ended up finding so much more and finding so much character growth through his running. Now, I love that, and this is also very much a how-to get into running, how to prioritize running, different details of running, differences between types of races, what kind of shoes, what kind of fuel. There's all that kind of how-to stuff, which is great. But also there's a lot of diet culture in this. Honestly, there's a lot of diet culture in this. And so I didn't love it for that reason. Also, I'm very much in a season of life where racing is not something that I'm doing right now. I historically have loved running long distance, running marathons, half marathons, whatever it may be. I love training. I love running. I love books about running because it's motivating, it's relatable, all that kind of stuff. But I'm in a season right now, which this is not the fault of the book. But I've got 3 small kids and I squeeze a workout in where I can, and it's, goals are different right now. And so I didn't find it that applicable. The amount of diet culture was a little much. So I'm giving it like 3.5 stars. It was still interesting, and I still do like what it says about running and the piece you can find there. And he's heavy on suggestions of like running without music and being present in your body and all that kind of stuff, which is great. But again, just not the season of life I'm in. Next is Thinner Than Thou by Kit Reed. Now, I'll put up a picture because I got this without the dust jacket for some reason. I think I bought it used a long time ago. This is another one of my DNFs because this one is about a dystopian society in which, like, thinness is like a religion. And now that's not that far off from the society we live in, but overweight people are sent away. But there's also anorexia mentioned, and those people are like people on either extreme, I guess, are sent away. So there's some unclear messaging, but really this was just, I didn't get very far into it. The writing style is not for me. It's very slow, kind of stream of consciousness. It's got really low ratings on Goodreads. So sorry, but that one's going away. Next we have, Darling Girls by Sally Hepworth. So this one I'm not going to say a whole lot about, except that this is about 3 women who were all raised in a foster home with this woman named, Miss Fairchild. So they were all raised by Miss Fairchild, who seems to be, she was like kind of touted as an upstanding citizen, seems to be really great. However, now present day, there's a body found in her backyard, and these girls may have something to do with it. They kind of think they know whose body it is, and so they all get wrapped up in the investigation. Now, we get past stories of how they all ended up in this foster home and kind of how Miss Fairchild treated each of them. There is non-typical abuse in this and lots of triggers, so definitely look that up. We also get a perspective of an unknown narrator kind of walking through therapy and her kind of reliving her experiences as a young person. This book definitely had me engaged. I was reading it whenever I could. It wraps up really nicely, and then it has like a wham bam last chapter that has you like, oh wow, okay. So I really like this. This wasn't perfect for me, but I gave it 4 stars, and if it sounds intriguing, I would definitely pick it up. Next, we have The Library of Borrowed Hearts by Lucy Gilmore. So this is about an almost librarian named Chloe. So that's really all I needed to know, plus the book, the cover, and the title. I didn't really need to know much to pick this up. Well, I ended up giving it 3 stars. This book is about this librarian named Chloe. She is responsible for her younger siblings because her mom is MIA. She's like a young adult. She is an adult, but she's not old. Her siblings are younger. She lives next to this kind of curmudgeon, and she is going through the like underground stacks at the library and finds this book that has correspondence between a boy and a girl talking about this book. So we get the perspective, like her perspective, present day, dealing with this curmudgeon, as well as the past timeline of the boy and girl that are writing back and forth to each other in the book. And this book it tries to tackle a lot. It has a lot of characters, a lot of side stories going on. And I just felt like it was slow and wide without being deep, and it just really could have used more focusing for me. So it was just okay. For a bookish book to just be okay, this definitely is like a book for book lovers. It mentions a lot of classics, a lot of things, but for it to just be okay was like really disappointing. Next we have Flirting with 40 by Jane Porter. I have this right here. This is one that I just picked off my shelves. It's one of the ones that I can't get any sort of digital copy for free. So I decided to pick it up, and this read so fast. This is like 350 pages, so it's pretty typical contemporary women's fiction length. It's about this woman who it's her first Christmas without her husband. Her husband and she have divorced. They have 2 young kids, and so she's trying to do all the things by herself on Christmas. trying to get the tree, trying to get it in, all that kind of stuff. And her friends are all married. They kind of live a very Stepford life where everybody is married. They have these elaborate dinner parties, etc. She always hosts this big Christmas dinner party. And everybody comes like as a stop in and they're not really there. And she just like, her life's kind of crumbling. And so she decides her husband has the kids for a week in January. And so her friend is like, hey, you're turning 40. Let's go to Hawaii for your birthday and just let it all go. So she's like, all right. She doesn't really want to, but she does. And then she's at the airport and her friend's like, hey, my husband is really sick. And so I can't leave him because he can't take care of the kids. And so I have to stay. And so, so she goes by herself reluctantly, and she meets a surf instructor and kind of has a relationship with him, a fling with him, and then comes home and she can't quite forget him. So it's their long distance correspondence, her kind of trying to live both her normal life in Seattle. So it's definitely got Seattle vibes of the raininess and all that kind of stuff, and escaping to paradise here on the island of Hawaii, and her kind of trying to figure out what she wants out of life now that she's newly 40, newly divorced, all that kind of stuff. And I loved this book. Like, I was so entertained. I read it in 2 or 3 days. And for me, physically reading that quickly, it says something. So I really like this. This is a early 2000s, I think. And there were definitely some things. Yeah, first edition is 2006. So it would definitely, there's definitely some indicators that this is an early 2000s book, but I really enjoyed it. Then we have Breathe Mama Breathe, 5-Minute Mindfulness for Busy Moms by Shonda Morales. Now, I am not a meditator. Like, I'm just not. I don't know. I can't do it. My mind's too busy, which is probably means I'm the person that needs meditation, but I don't enjoy it. And I'm not good at it. This book is like a book for people like me. So this is about taking 5 minutes throughout your day whenever common triggers come up. So, and making it just a part of your routine. So when you're brushing your teeth, here's some mindfulness you can do. When your kids are melting down, here's some things you can do. When you're reading to your kids and here, things are going crazy and it's bedtime, here's some things you can do. When you have your daily coffee, here's some things you can do. Just ways to incorporate easy mindfulness into the already crazy routine you're living. Not go sit in a corner and meditate for 30 minutes, but here's how you can be a little more mindful in the moments you have. And I really liked it, and definitely want to get a hard copy for myself so I can kind of remember just the grounding strategies, things like that. I thought it was really helpful. And then last, we have The Women by Kristen Hanna. Now, I don't even feel like I need to talk about this very much. This is about a girl named Frankie and her experience in Vietnam. So her family, her dad never was able to go to war, and he kind of feels some shame about that, but also is I think they're a Navy family. And so her dad kind of convinces her brother to go to war, and she's like, okay, she's training to be a nurse, and she's like, I'm going to enlist and go as a nurse. And so she expects that her family will be really proud of her and all that kind of stuff and really excited about it. They're not. They don't want her to go. Well, she does anyway. She has to enlist Army because Navy and Air Force will not take her. And so she goes to the Army, and this book is hard and heavy. Like, it's about her experience during war, and she's really good at what she does. And so she gets put like right there on the front lines. And so the first half-ish, maybe, I don't know, the first part is all about her experience in war. She has a relationship with a doctor that he is married. And she knows that, and he knows that. And so I think she had a lot of good boundary talks. While there is there is some sort of element of an emotional affair. So if that's a hard pass for you, I felt like they held the boundaries appropriately given the traumatic situation they're in. Anyway, so she has that going on, and just a lot happens to her over there. Well, then she comes home. Part 2 is she comes home, and she is not welcomed home by her family, by society. She can't get help, even by the VA and people who are meant to help veterans. They say there were no women in Vietnam. And she's like, excuse me. And they're like, well, you weren't on the front lines. Well, the things she was seeing were capital T trauma. And so it's her trying to navigate her relationships, her life back home after she has endured multiple tragedies and multiple traumas and lots that has happened to her. And I didn't know a lot of this. I do know people who were in Vietnam and PTSD and all those kind of things, but I've never heard a woman's perspective. And I've never heard about the women of Vietnam because their stories aren't told. So I loved this. This will definitely be a book that you need to have some tissues and be emotionally ready for, because it's heavy. It's a lot, but it was so good. So there we go. 35 minutes later. That is everything that I read in the second half of April. Let me know if you've read any of these books, if you're interested in any now that you've heard about them. And yeah, let me know what was the best thing you read in April. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.